Hello and welcome to the CRM Zen Show, where we talk about all things Zoho. This is episode 327. Hit me with your best tag for November 1st, 2024. From Zenatta Consulting, I'm Brett Martin.
And I'm Tyler Colt, and let's get right on into the show.
I'm wearing, I'm colorblind, Tyler, so I thought this was kind of orange. I was told it's really not. It's more of a fuchsia.
More of like a salmon color.
Salmon color. Consider this my ode to Halloween, though. This is all I've got to be. It's not girl. That's it. Anything exciting for you this weekend?
Nothing crazy. Planning on having a lazy weekend. It's been so busy over the last couple months. Finally starting to get back to normal. So, yeah, not much on my agenda. How about you?
I am heading to the Big Smoke this week, which is the cigar aficionados' huge cigar shindig, if you will.
Very nice.
Over at the Paris casino. So yes, heading over there for that, which will be fun, an all-day event. They have seminars and then an evening event. It can't be any more exciting. Anyway, that's about it for me here. The joys of living in Las Vegas, man. Everything's just right at your doorstep. You know what I mean?
Hey, very true.
Hey, look at this in town. Anyway, all right, with that, let's get right on into the show. But first, a word from our sponsor, us.
Are you struggling to get your team trained in using Zoho effectively? Considering the hefty costs of team meetings and onboarding sessions dedicated to Zoho training, there has to be an easier way. Say hello to efficiency with our Zoho team training courses. Zoho CRM made easy. Become a project management pro, top-tier customer support, and maximize your marketing impact. Are you ready to equip your team? Start today at zenatta.com/training and let us lead the way.
All righty, Tyler, let's get right on into it. You can now append tags on record imports in the CRM. This is pretty cool. This is one of those things I have to go way back because I don't think I've actually been in a consulting role for 2 or 3 years here in the company, right? And I do remember that, when you do tags and you're importing, you got a choice. You can, overwrite. That was it. And so now if you got all these tags, I'm not sure tags is honestly the most efficient use. I think pick list, multi-select pick list might be better, but that's still not
tags can be a bit of like the siren song, right? Where it sounds great until you get up close and then you kind of realize that maybe not the best way to track data. There are use cases though where tags are really helpful. So it's not like universally that you shouldn't use them. And really what this means is just that, let's say you're running an import and you're planning on updating some data, right? And some of that data already has tags. You want to add a new one, maybe identifying that it was part of this update, right? I have a client who does that, who basically once a year, they update a bunch of data and they put a tag that says updated 2024, right? Updated 2025. And so now you don't have to remove all the existing tags when you add one via an import, which is a nice quality of life feature.
Super nice, especially like on leads. You go to a trade show and you want to add that tag that this is the trade show you saw them at, and you may be adding new data and updating data kind of thing, right? So now you can just go ahead and append, which is very, very, very nice. So good job there, Zoho. So something I thought was probably there, but wasn't. And moving along, translation in Zoho CRM now supports regional languages. This is available in Japan, Australia, Canada, and the EU. So I guess, Tyler, you're going to have to help me on this. So you're not able to choose your own language. There was only one default language in the CRM before?
Yeah, so you have the default language and then you have the different translations. Translations will now essentially be able to handle more languages within that tool. One of the nice things here is this is kind of like in the default package of languages. And I think really the main part of this update is that it's going to be tracking more like regional languages as well. So like you might have like, yeah, this is a master language, but in this part of the country, in this part of the region, maybe there's some type of sub-dialect, and they're kind of including more of those as
Got it.
part of all supported languages.
So users have been able to set their own default language.
Yes, users have been able to set their language as long as
Okay.
it's been added by an admin. But if you see in the background there of this image, the kind of grayed out part,
Yeah.
you see English United States, English Australia.
Right.
Honestly, I don't know what the big differences would be there. But they could be two sub-dialects, right? Where maybe no one says accounts over there, they all say this. And so you can now kind of control those in a little bit more granularly rather than having to kind of have everyone on the same language.
Well, like in Canada, you would spell about ABOOT, right? So you might want to have that in there. So there's all those kind of things. So
Very
I can see it. Still, I think the biggest thing we've ever used this entire translations for is just renaming system fields across the board for people. So that's one of those tips we put out. I don't know. Seems like a decade ago that when people find it, they're like, "Oh, thank you." But if you don't know, if you're looking at a system field name and you're like, "Man, I wish I could rename that," you can. You just have to go over into translations, download the file, find it, rename it, upload the translation file back in again, and away you go. So
we actually have that old YouTube video on that from a million years ago on the channel. I actually grabbed it to send it to someone not too long ago, and man, my hair used to be insane back in some of those early
did you
days.
do that one?
Well, no, we were both on it. I think it was part of a webinar, and we trimmed it out. So yeah,
How funny.
All
right. Well, moving on, you now can gain control over record sharing with portal users through a new enhancement. So in the CRM, if you don't know, Zoho has a portal option. This allows you to share certain things in the CRM with external contacts. So you can go to a contact, you can make them a portal user, they get an invite, and you can share, usually it's oftentimes like they can look at their deal or they can look at various other things, and you kind of highlight what you want them to see there. But you haven't been able to get very granular with the information that you've been able to share. And they now are really dialing in that granularity. And one of the good examples, if you're watching us on YouTube down here, is they kind of actually give an example of what you could see before and what you can see now. So in the past, if you were showing deals, it would be all deals that were associated with that person.
Everything linked to that contact would basically show up when that contact
would show up. Right. But in here, they're basically saying, okay, they're only seeing approved deals. So if it's sitting in draft or negotiation, those aren't actually being displayed to the contact when they log into the portal. And you can this applies for a lot of different things. So really making the portal much more useful when you get down to that.
This is a pretty massive update for the way the portal functions, because you're just going to have so much data that's linked up to the contact or potentially the account that you're like not ready for them to see, right? That's like a really normal thing. Maybe they're working with a sales rep. The sales rep has submitted a quote for approval, right? Maybe they're trying to get this customer a discount, right? And it's like, well, we don't actually know that we're allowed to give them this discount yet. The client logs in, they see it, they're going to assume that they're getting that discount. So just being able to actually lock these down based on particular field criteria is super helpful. Seems like they've done it in a pretty robust way. So you're able to essentially set up criteria based on a kind of hard-coded field, a reference to another field, as well as specific kind of qualifying values. So really nice. I see a ton of value in this. I mean, they've kind of made leaps and bounds on the CRM portal over the last year and a half or so. We used to really rarely find it good enough for the particular client's needs. And so we're doing ZPortals, which is great, or we're doing Creator, which is awesome, but higher budget. You got to build it all from scratch. And a lot of these updates that they've added are really, really great. One that they snuck in that I don't even know if they ever did a news story on is if you take a module, a CRM module, and you make it public read visibility, then you can actually enable it in the portal and logged in users can see it even when it's not associated directly to them. So if you wanted to like expose your product list to portal logged in users, you actually can. I used to not be able to do that. I don't know when they changed it, but they're doing a ton of work in here, and I think it's paying off because we are actually finding a couple clients now who this gets the job done, and then it saves them a bunch of money on like a custom build, right? Which obviously can become quite an extensive, implementation cycle.
Yeah. Nice. Very, very, very nice. All right, moving on. Well, over in Zoho Desk, if you're using Blueprint transitions, they now are compatible with instant messaging tickets. So it used to be, if you actually use this in Desk where you're using blueprints and you're kind of going through, it used to be once you completed the blueprint, you could then respond to the person in IM. Now you actually can add the entire IM directly into the blueprint, and a person can respond directly from there. Nice touch.
Nice. Yeah, really nice.
Very nice touch. We were talking earlier before the show, blueprints, it's kind of a outlier usage case in Desk, you said, for the most part.
For the most part, I mean, like most people don't have that strictly defined of a process for how they're managing tickets. Some people do, and then blueprints are a great option. But in a lot of cases, people are a little more flexible because they're very communication driven, right? And like it's working a ticket isn't quite the same as a deal in CRM, or the deal you can really lock in a fixed process of like how we're going to sell. Tickets just have a lot of variability.
Yeah. And the Desk team has been very busy this week, Tyler, because they've on round robins now, you now have the ability to set threshold assignments. So what this means is, let's say you've got a senior help desk agent and you've got some junior help desk agents. Bottom line is you can say the junior guys can only have 20 tickets at a time. The senior guys can handle 50 tickets at a time, or whatever threshold you want to set it. So when it's doing the round robin, it'll load up your senior guys or your more qualified people with more tickets. So a small little update, but very
useful.
Very nice. Yes. Hey, look, a new Zoho name appeared here.
Zilclares.
Zilclares.
I love that Zilker name. That is their go-to.
I know. Zilclares. Look at that. It's just marketing run amok. There you go. Anyway, nice update, Desk team for the round robining side. And Tyler, that wraps up the news. So let's get right on into your implementation of the week.
All right, so implementation of the week this week actually comes from Greg, our director of Zoho development. This is some deal owner history tracking via a subform in CRM. This is actually something that we did internally for ourselves, just for a couple requirements that we had. And really the goal here was just to create a nice way to track the history of deal ownership throughout the life cycle of an engagement. Use case here is that, honestly, 95 times out of 100, an engagement will stay with one consultant throughout the entire life cycle at Zenatta. Occasionally, though, we might reassign clients based on, maybe they were starting on sales and marketing, and now they're going to move into like heavy inventory work. And we go, you know what, like maybe that part 2 of this might work best with a different consultant. Occasionally be timeline or bandwidth constraints. So maybe someone is going to be out for a couple weeks and we shift it. In some cases, we might just shift it for a few weeks and then move it back. And really, we needed this data to make sure that we're still able to track productivity for all of our various consultants, making sure that like they're getting their appropriate comp on the output of the work that they're doing. So Greg first added a subform to the deal where each record can essentially store a row in it for each of the consultants who has owned a deal, as well as when they were owning it as a start and a stop date. So that we can then pull that into analytics. Then set up a workflow and a custom function. Pretty simple one, where really any time that a owner is changed, it will write a new row to that subform saying, Tyler now owns the deal as of, this date. And then it will go to the previous row and mark the end date of ownership for that particular user as well. Lastly, we just basically sync that subform over to Zoho Analytics. And then when we're reporting on metrics around deals, we report using that subform, and then we join data against that within each of the date periods. So we can actually know that like, hey, these couple hours of work during this 2-week period, well, those were actually done by Brett, not Tyler, because Tyler was out of office for that time. So just kind of a quick improvement that we did internally, just because sometimes people go out of office and, their clients are like, hey, we still got a lot to do. So we'll work with someone else for a couple weeks, and then we'll get back on the calendar with our original consultant. So nice job, Greg, on this. Definitely one that I could actually see a use case for some of our clients as well.
Yeah, it saves you having to scroll through the timeline. You know, like,
and
hey,
it makes it
when did this happen?
reportable. Yeah,
Yeah,
like you can't report on the timeline and the history. So this gives us a way to actually slice and dice the reports.
very nice. That's you can't pull the timelines in and run reports on them. And
You don't really get that data. Would be nice, but makes sense because there's so much stuff in there. It would be tough to use anyways, versus doing it out of a subform data entry.
look at that. The more you know. All righty. And with that, let's head over to Club Zenatta and check out our code share of the week. All right, Tyler. Eddie is back at it here with automate task ownership in Zoho projects with a custom API function. So basically, if you want to run an API and change task owners based upon certain things, you can do it using this. You said one of the big reasons for posting this is that there's some trickiness involved when it comes to doing
some of
this.
the Zoho projects API is kind of notoriously prickly and non-obvious in how they set things up. So really the trick here is he's running through and showing how to map the owner of a task. That API key is super hidden in the documentation. You also have to format things kind of interestingly just to be able to actually put it in properly. And it won't always really give you error messages in the project's API. So make sure if you're working with this that like you check the output each time when you're building it initially, because you can't always trust that it's actually going to tell you that it broke when it did. So just there's a nice one. You basically be able to lift this and drop it right into your system. Make sure that in this case, we're kind of assuming you want to assign it to the project owner. That might not be the case. You might be reaching into CRM, or you might be assigning it to somebody else. So you might have to adjust the top part of this, but the bottom half should be pretty much universally valuable in getting you where you need to go to automatically assign tasks.
Fantastic. Thank you, Eddie. And if you don't know, Club Zenatta is our online social network where other like-minded Zoho users get together and talk about what's going on in their life, what problems they're having, what they might need help with. So if you kind of go on into Club Z, all we require is your email. You can go ahead and participate in the community. A lot of Zenatta people participate in here as well, helping answer questions. So we also have all of our code shares are indexed here, so you can go look at every single code share we've ever done, not just this one, but go through the past. Every single week we give you some, and we even have some that are provided by our
sometimes
user.
2 a week, because someone not from Zenatta will come in and share some code as well. So big shout out to all of you for sharing too.
Absolutely.
Always something I've appreciated with the nerd community. We all just kind of share what we're doing. So big shout out to all the participants over on Club Zenatta.
Fantastic stuff. Also, this is where we keep track. All the news that ends up on this show actually ends up in here as well. So you can see, hey, what's going on in the news. So right here, basically the articles kind of appear here as well. And of course, they also end up in our newsletter, which you probably want to subscribe to as well. And Freddie, I see you're keeping us up with the seasons here. We've got a nice little fall coming in. This, it's just it's such the best community. Anyway, head on over to club.zenatta.com. We would love to have you. And with that, let's see what's happening over at Zenatta. Well, for those of you that are into reading and not watching videos, we have done an article basically summarizing last week's tip of the week by Tyler, which is custom modules and putting all of those together. So kind of a nice little summary of what you covered in that nice in that video of yours? I know you made the decision to start doing, we've done so many of these high level videos, and there's so much of the basic stuff that we haven't been doing. So we'll kind of discuss that in a little bit today as well. So you kind of jumped on the old custom modules one, which is super important.
A couple of these videos recently have just been from YouTube comments. You know, we had a video where I think it was a comment on the desk custom modules video, and they're like, do you have one for CRM? I'm like, oh, of course we do. And I just went and I was going to search, grab the link and give it to them. And lo and behold, no, we didn't. So went ahead and recorded that. Similar for the tip video this week. It was one that I would have sworn we had done one on, but we never did. So just catching up on some of those core and basic functionality tools that we may not have covered.
And while you're at Zenatta.com, be sure to check out our resource library and our Zoho bundles. Basically, these are where we take every single Zoho app and we aggregate all of the content we've ever done on that particular application. So you're saying, hey, I want to dive into CRM, and what do we have here? Well, we break it all down. So we have all of the various tips and tricks and tutorials are all added in here as well. So kind of a nice little library of everything that we have done so far. So take a look at that and head over to Zenatta.com. And as always, you know, really what we do, all the reason we do all this is we are Zoho consultants. And if you click on this book a meeting link up here, well, guess what? You can be talking to myself, Tyler, Josh, Jordan, one of us, and we can discuss how we might be able to help you solve your Zoho dilemma, whatever that may be. And with that, Tyler, let's head over to the YouTube and check out our tip of the week. Might this be what you were talking about, Tyler?
Maybe. So yeah, this week we put up a tip video covering lookup fields. This is looking at single lookups, multi-select lookups, linking modules, some tips and tricks, some things that I see people do really often. Like, you know, this one, Brett, if you make a lookup from a job to a deal, a lot of times people will name that related list deals, but it should actually be jobs because it's going to show up on the deal. So went through, kind of showed how to add these, gave some tips on the related lists. We also showed how to filter and autofill based on lookups, some kind of new functionality that's come out in the last 6 months or so. Then we went through multi-select lookups. I make my case for why you should include the linking module when you use those. And then kind of put it all together, create a record, show all the links, show all where they show up. So hopefully will be a useful one for people. Again, a video I would have sworn we had already made, but we never did. So went ahead and created it. So check that out over on youtube.com/Zenatta. Let us know what you think.
Fantastic. And if you don't know YouTube, we post a couple videos a week at least, sometimes 3, sometimes 4, all related to Zoho. Since that's pretty much all we do, we need to get out and explore, Tyler.
I know.
So head over to YouTube. Please subscribe to our channel. Hit the bell, smash the buttons, do whatever you YouTubers do. But we would love it if you would subscribe and support us on our YouTube channel. And with that, Tyler, another CRM Zen Show has come to a close.
That it did. And yeah, as always, a pleasure. Hopefully not too spooky with Brett's orange/salmon shirt. Yeah, look at that thing.
Just in case you wonder who I work for, you know, I just want to make it clear.
Yeah, I was wondering. I don't know if you quite branded enough.
In this room. That would be it. So anyway, all right. Well, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Until next week, yes, if you would like to reach out to us, as I just said, please head over to the website, click on book a meeting. We would love to chat with you.
On the website is also where you'll find complete episodes as well as show notes with links to all the stories we discussed today. If you want that news delivered to your inbox every Monday morning, be sure to subscribe to our newsletter. And last but not least, we always appreciate when you like and subscribe here on YouTube, as well as your choice of podcast app. We'll see you next Friday.
The CRM Zen Show was produced by Podcaster Zen.
Yeah, if you're listening, stay tuned for Zenatta. That's That's right, Zen Otter. It's coming your way.
I wish that was a joke.
Something for you subscribers to look forward to. We've only spent 150 hours on Zen Otter, so better be worth it.
I like it.